Hello and welcome to a new video from callumwilson.com. You join me at the Clancy Hotel in San Francisco, ready to depart for London on a journey that will span 4 flights across 3 airlines. In this video, I'm covering Delta's 737 first class from San Francisco to Salt Lake City. The Uber to SFO was speedy and gave excellent views of the coast on the motorway. We arrived in good time to the Delta check-in, followed by swift, speedy security queues, so we headed straight across to the Delta Sky Club. By this point in my combined work and holiday trip, I was more than ready to get home, so I wasn't particularly looking forward to this journey, since it was going to take over 26 hours, but hey, that's the life of a spare time travel blogger. Out of all airlines in the US, along with Alaska Airlines, Delta has some of the better domestic lounges. The access policies for these are a bit confusing, but understandably so due to the amount of overcrowding they get. I could get into the lounge because I was on an international business class itinerary, while this is not normally available to domestic first passengers. I was quite impressed by the Sky Club at the SFO. While the food was about as good as you can expect for mass catering in the US, the design was relatively clean and stylish, while the windows provided great views across the apron, especially in this excellent weather. SFO isn't a modern airport, don't think Changi, don't think Hong Kong, but it's okay by US standards, with plenty of food and beverage options alongside other shops. The departure gate to Salt Lake City was just a couple of minutes away from the Sky Club. Boarding commenced shortly after arriving with about 1 million different priority groups, a mind-boggling amount of people who had priority. But it all worked well, and I was soon on my way before being greeted by the staff on board. Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Good, how are you? Wendy, are you filming?
Yes, I won't, I'll blur your faces, it's no
Okay,
problem.
I can't film flight crew, so it needs to be deleted.
Sure.
It's a federal.
So, you joined me about almost 1 year, 10 months after I took this flight, and I actually forgot about this incident. There are actually no specific laws which prohibit you from taking photos or videos on an aircraft, but it is a grey area, and generally as long as you're not interfering with the work of the cabin crew, because ultimately they're there to keep you safe, then you're pretty good to go on taking photos and videos on a plane, which is why I continue to film and review this flight. I think I wouldn't even say that they were bad cabin crew. They did a decent job. I enjoyed my 3 times on Delta first class. But, I thought I'd just interrupt here and give you a bit of context. Let's go on with the rest of the flight. At the seat, a small bottle of water was provided, a nice touch considering I'm usually pretty thirsty after travelling to the plane. The bulkhead features a pouch with 2 handy pockets to store small items, although I probably wouldn't use it on a flight this short. Of course, this features a safety card, which I took the obligatory video of. Out of the armrest flops a tray table, which folds in half. It's not super sturdy, but it could take me typing away on a MacBook for much of this journey. A tiny display sits straight ahead and is barely readable thanks to its poor brightness levels and bad touchscreen experience as a consequence of it using old resistive touchscreen technology. While the quality of the display isn't great, it has a similar selection of content as their newer aircraft with better in-flight entertainment, more or less the same as the A320 and A220 I flew a week prior. As with all my flights on Delta First over them couple of weeks, I generally stuck to just having the live news on in the background. A very dated controller sits in the central armrest and didn't appear to do anything to the screen, strangely. And just below this, there were 2 power outlets which catered to US style plugs only, and some crusty looking Ethernet jacks and USB ports which are sorely in need of a clean. The seat itself is very amenable, lots of padding, just enough recline, and far better than any European business class, bar Turkish. While this was an old plane, the seats certainly didn't give that away, which is quite impressive. And so with the earlier warning, the amount of content from this flight was severely limited, even if federal laws do not prohibit filming. At least we had some good views on our way out of San Francisco on this beautiful, clear and sunny day. While not quite as good as my favourite cities to land in, like Hong Kong or Singapore, San Francisco and the Bay Area provide some excellent views to sample on your arrival and departure into the airport. Food and beverage on this flight was disappointing to say the least. While I was far from hungry thanks to the quality of the food in the Sky Club, the extent of the F&B was a drink and a packaged snack. This is certainly where European carriers are far better in their premium cabins. Onto the bathroom, and they are a cramped affair to be expected, with very little space to move. I was surprised to see branded hand wash and moisturiser by Malin and Goetz. I do apologise if I butchered that name. They were kept sufficiently clean. For the rest of the flight, I spent most of it enjoying the magnificent views at the southwest corner of the contiguous United States. Coming into land at Salt Lake City was also rather beautiful, with the flat open plains alongside impressive mountain ranges combined with the moody atmosphere. It was an interesting view to sample. So the flight, how was it? The seat is extremely comfortable and plenty of legroom for someone like me who's 188 centimeters tall, or about 6'2" to you Americans. Food and beverage was poor, and I don't think this has improved much since April 2022 when I flew. The cabin crew, despite the initial encounter, were okay. Nothing sensational, but equally, they weren't awful. Would I pay for this flight in itself? At almost $500 on many dates for a return trip, it is not worth that amount of money, although some dates can be found for around half the cost. Like European business, I'd probably only opt for first if I was on a connecting itinerary like I was, or if I was on a flight over 4 hours where you can feel the difference. Certainly, I would recommend you opt for the Airbus A220 aircraft which I flew down from Salt Lake City the week prior. It's a far better, more modern aircraft which applies its route several times a day. This flight led on to my journey to Amsterdam aboard KLM's newest world business class product on the 787-9. So do be sure to subscribe to catch that video very soon, and also a bit on why Salt Lake City is, in my view, America's best airport. Catch you very soon.